The Dramatic Capture series is Takara's dramatic way of re-releasing old figures with new paint jobs or new accessories or with other figures and making them a little bit more collector-oriented. And very usually based on very particular scenes from the G1 cartoon. But give me a second, I'm just going to remove this dust cover thing real quick. Okay, this is the real box. As I was saying, it's very based on the G1 cartoon. Certain scenes where certain characters pop up together or interact or have a certain theme is what the Dramatic Capture series is about. And what better scene is there to recreate than the first scene in all of Transformers media? From the introductory two-parter of the Transformers G1 cartoon, More Than Meets the Eye. Welcome one and all to the display case. I'm Nate, and today we're looking at the Transformers Dramatic Capture series Cybertron Chase 3-pack. Now, as always with Dramatic Capture, we get some awesome art on the front of the box. We get the classic Transformers logo, Wheeljack, Jazz, and Bumblebee, even though Jazz wasn't in that scene, racing through the streets of Cybertron, with two Tetrajets following close behind. On the back, we get a beautiful red background with the Transformers logo again, and what looks like actual figure photography of each of the characters this set comes with. Then on the right side, we get the same characters in a lineup with their vehicle forms underneath. Of course, this is another slipcover. Underneath, we get a sort of a plain cardboard box, printed on which is kind of like blueprints of each of the characters in their vehicle forms, which is pretty standard for the Dramatic Capture series. We also get the Autobot logo on the right and the Transformers logo again on the left. When we flip the box around, we either get Cybertron's Night Sky or, I guess, just a dirty smudge. One or the other. So these figures originally came about in a line called Buzzworthy Bumblebee. Specifically, the first one to come out was this Bumblebee figure in 2021. They were labeled as the Origins figures, and very clearly they were meant to represent the first episode of the G1 cartoon where they all transformed into their Cybertronian vehicle modes. And they came with some accessories to reflect that as well. Jazz was the second one to be released in 2023 during the Transformers Legacy Evolution line, but still under Buzzworthy Bumblebee. And Wheeljack was the last to pop into our hands in the Legacy line in 2024, rounding out the three Autobots that made up that first episode in their Cybertronian forms. Or at least the Cybertronian forms that we saw them transform into. They also come with some pretty neat accessories. Jazz, in particular, comes with his blaster, cast in a very basic black plastic. He also comes with a two-part black plastic cast grappling hook, which he does use in the G1 cartoon, but not in the first episode. It can just be easily pulled apart with the 5mm peg and port combo, and can be put onto Jazz by folding either of his hands in, which reveals a 5mm hole, before plugging the grappling hook into it. Bumblebee, meanwhile, comes with a whole jetpack that doesn't appear in the first episode, but does appear on the episode Dinobot Island. It does attach quite easily to Bumblebee's back using a 5mm port. He also comes with the blaster pistol that he uses in the first episode, which is molded in the same grey plastic as his legs and arms. Last but not least, Wheeljack comes with his shoulder cannon, which plugs into his shoulder using a 5mm port and peg. It's cast in this clear plastic, but it is painted silver. He also comes with what I think is the smoothest piece of clear plastic I've ever seen in my life. Look how shiny this thing is. This is supposed to be his blast shield from the first episode where he goes through a bunch of Seekers shooting a ring of fire at him. It's a little bit useless in his robot mode, but it can plug into his back and form sort of like a glider, which looks a little bit stupid in my opinion, so I don't think I'm ever going to display him with this accessory. Besides that, he also comes with these little things that tab into his back in robot mode and are a little bit useless, but are supposed to be the little turbines that he uses to get through the Ring of Fire in the first episode, but they kind of also double as Dominator discs from the episode The Core. Something that Bumblebee originally came with, but I'm kind of counting as coming with the set here, are these Energon rods, again from the first episode of the show. These are what Wheeljack and Bumblebee in the first scene of the show are trying to smuggle back to Iacon, and can be stored either on Wheeljack's backpack or just in the hands of any old figure. Now I'm wagering you're watching this wondering what exactly the differences are between these new versions in dramatic capture and the originals, and I'm here to tell you there's a couple of key changes. Starting with Wheeljack's robot mode, his back fin things are now grey plastic instead of white. That same grey goes into his head for a more toon-accurate deco with brighter blue eyes and flatter greys. He's got a brand new set of green line decos on his legs. And his entire chest piece has been painted, so no longer do we have this weird clear plastic hinge, it's sort of curved to look how it did in the cartoon. It's also painted at the top and inside, so it has this opaque backing that gives you the benefit of opaque windows with clear plastic, which looks excellent. Bumblebee has less paint app differences and more just overall cohesion. Instead of the black plastic, he's now got a dark grey like the cartoon, and instead of like a bright yellow, he's now a dark sort of more burnt yellow that definitely matches a lot better across the board than the old one does. Additionally, his bright blue paint apps on his chest has now changed to a metallic blue, and his face, instead of silver, is now a white. Which, if I'm honest, could have used a couple more coats, because you can definitely see the yellow plastic still sticking through. Jazz is definitely the one that has, if anything, become less toon accurate with this new version. You can see that the old flat grey has now been replaced with a metallic grey across the board. I don't mind it, it definitely feels high quality, but it's not exactly evocative of that toon aesthetic like the other two are. You can also see that his blue paint apps on his legs now wrap around to the front, his abdomen is in that same metallic grey with some new darker grey stripes down the side, and his chest piece now has a darker blue stripe with a Autobot symbol that has a background instead of no background. Across the three of them, comparing new to old, you can definitely see that Wheeljack has the most improvements that have been made to him in this new version. The yellow cohesion on Bumblebee is greatly appreciated considering the yellows on the old one don't really match. That goes for his dark grey plastic as well. I always love when they change black plastic to that dark toony grey, but I will admit that the lighter blue windows on the original I favour a little bit more than the metallic darker ones. Picking between the two Wheeljacks is a lot easier. The new one is 100% better than the old one in every way. Jazz, though, is a bit more complex. I think I prefer the old one, if I'm honest. I do appreciate the higher contrast on the Autobot symbol, the more deep blue on the paint apps, and the metallic silver/grey, but overall it's less toony than it was before, which is what this whole pack is about. Bringing those scenes to life in figure format. But it doesn't stop with the paint apps. Articulation is another very important point. Let's start with Wheeljack. He's got a ball joint in his head that allows him to look up and down and rotate all around, as well as have a little bit of side-to-side movement. Hinged shoulders that can go up 90 degrees as well as rotate all the way around before hitting his backpack. Full 360 degree bicep swivel. Elbows that can bend 90 degrees. Full wrist rotation, which is a wonder to see. A full 360 degrees of waist rotation. Hips that can go forwards, backwards, and out to the side. 360 degrees of thigh swivel. 90 degree knee bend, maybe a little bit more. And a foot that's on a ball joint, so it can tilt around 45 degrees as well as go forward and back and rotate all the way around. Bumblebee is pretty similar. He's got a ball joint at the base of his head that allows him to look up and down and rotate all the way around. Hinged shoulders that go up and rotate all the way around as well, with an added bicep swivel and an elbow joint that goes well over 90 degrees. He's also got a rotating waist with hips that can go forwards, backwards, and sideways, a thigh swivel that goes all the way around, a 90-degree bend at the knee, and ankles that can go inwards 90 degrees, bend forward, as well as backward, which is quite frankly incredible. Like the other two, Jazz also has a ball joint at the base of his head, shoulders that can go up 90 degrees as well as rotate all the way around, 90-degree bend at the elbow with a bicep swivel, full waist rotation with hips that can go forwards, backwards, and sideways, with a thigh swivel, a knee bend that can go just under 90 degrees, and ankle tilt that clocks in at just over 45 degrees. So between the three of them, I would say they actually have quite an excellent amount of posability, especially Bumblebee and Wheeljack, whose feet can tilt forwards and backwards, adds a lot to the range they can achieve. Another added benefit here is that these guys are a lot stronger in their joints, sturdier overall than the old ones ever were, adding that small level of confidence. Each one also has a small port on their backside where you can plug a display stand. Now these are smaller than your usual 5mm ports, but they just plug right in and allow you to achieve some awesome aerial poses, especially with accessories like Bumblebee's jetpack, Jazz's grappling hook, both of which can hold blast effects, and I guess Wheeljack's immense girth that can be used to crush his enemies under his weight? Who knows? The possibilities are endless. I really like how these guys center down on that toon aesthetic. You get some real proportion changes that aren't present in the regular Studio Series or Generations figures. Especially in Wheeljack's case, compared to his Generations model, he doesn't have that curved chest piece or the nice looking back fins. And with seemingly a new Studio Series Wheeljack around the corner, I'd love to see those features in particular translate to the new version, potentially without all the kibble that this version has hanging off of it. But that kibble does go somewhere. After all, these figures were built to represent the Cybertronian vehicle forms of these characters. I will admit, these guys in vehicle form look incredible. You can really tell that they put all their efforts in sculpting these figures into making sure that the Cybertronian forms look as good as they do in the episode that they come from. And each one has a distinct visual identity. Bumblebee's flying saucer here, for example, is rounded, it's smooth. Every panel that was once kibble on Bumblebee's legs and back now meshes together to form this beautiful smooth surface, with only a few body parts underneath. Wheeljack is impressing me the same way. All of that kibble that was once on his legs and back, just like Bumblebee, has now expanded and built this awesome sort of cab area that is completely hollow, and we'll see what we can do with that later. Jazz is also the most straightforward out of the three. The legs fold out and the backpack covers the upper body. So while he does look smooth and sporty, just like in the show, it is a more simple journey to get to the destination. You can also incorporate the figure's accessories into the vehicle modes. For Wheeljack, those little turbine/dominator discs can very simply just plug onto the little nubs on the front of his vehicle mode. It's an effective look and a simple solution. You can also store his shoulder cannon/blaster by folding up the top panel and plugging it into the 5mm port that you can find there, hiding it away fairly effectively. Just like in robot mode, you can take the energon rods and clip them into the top of Wheeljack's spoiler, where they can just sit on top of his cab, I guess. But it is a bit of a weird look, them just sitting there. It never happens in the show, so I don't think I'll be displaying him like this. I mentioned before that the entire interior of Wheeljack is now hollow, and you can do something with that once you take the gun out. You can fold down the access ramp and then fold up Bumblebee to put him in the back of Wheeljack, just like in the first episode of the G1 cartoon. And while it looks like it doesn't fit, with a little bit of finagling, you can get the entire thing to close around Bumblebee to have him just sitting there. But I'm not quite sure what this offers other than novelty, because why would you have Bumblebee just sitting inside Wheeljack? You can also take the glider pack, I guess, from before and fold it up and attach it to the top of Wheeljack's vehicle mode as the blast shield that he uses in that episode. It is still a transparent blue plastic with a silver painted underlay, whereas it was sort of a gunmetal color in the cartoon, but I'll take it, it still looks pretty good. Bumblebee's a bit more old school in how he stores his accessories. You can see there are a couple of 5mm ports across it, which you can plug things into, like his blaster, like the jetpack, just about any accessory he comes with, bar those energon rods. And yes, it does look quite silly having a backpack and a gun just sticking out of a flying saucer, but that's old school weapon storage for you. Jazz stores his weapons in the same sort of way, with that 5mm port at the top. You just kind of stick the gun in there and it looks a bit silly. But if you turn him around, you can also store his grappling hook in his vehicle mode. There's a little 5mm port in what used to be his chest that you can just plug that into, and it hides it away pretty well. Although I do wish that the blaster could also join it in that location. I really don't like when weaponry is just sort of sticking out of vehicles. It looks a bit weird. I will say that the differences in their vehicle modes for the dramatic capture releases are a little bit more subtle compared to the originals. Wheeljack now has a darker blue clear plastic for his windows, as well as what used to be a teal blue color for that sort of deco of the windows going up has now been replaced with a metallic blue. He now also has the Autobot symbol up top, and all the shades of green seem to match, which is great, but otherwise, he's more or less just the same. Bumblebee hits that bar as well. He is very similar to his original release, except the yellows now match across the board and are more of a matte finish, I guess. And of course, he is in that more burnt yellow, which I personally love. Jazz, meanwhile, is more or less just the same. The only differences I can make out are that the grille in the front is now darker, the blue throughout is richer and more vibrant, and is also a matte finish rather than the glossy that the original came with. Otherwise, apart from those, he is exactly the same. Apart from maybe the plastic underneath the windshield being slightly darker. I honestly think that the vehicle modes of these figures are their shining aspect. They are my favorite piece of this set. And in all honesty, when I go to display these guys in the collection, I think I'm just going to display them in their vehicle modes, and they will be the only characters in their vehicle modes in my collection. Which goes to show just how iconic these Cybertronian modes are and how well they've been executed in this set, and I guess in the previous releases as well. After all is said and done, do I think that you should go out and purchase the Cybertron Chase Dramatic Capture set? Well, yes and no. If you already have these characters in these forms, I think you shouldn't get it because they are very similar to what came before. They're not particularly like the last Dramatic Capture set I reviewed, the Triple Takeover set, that fixed a lot of issues people had with those figures. These guys were already well regarded in the community, people liked them. But if you didn't have these figures originally, and you like that first episode, and you like the aesthetic of the G1 designs and the Cybertronian forms, I think you should pick these guys up. They're genuinely quite good as figures, and the Dramatic Capture makeover that they've been given by Takara just genuinely make them look incredible and better than the originals in every way. Thank you so much for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see more, feel free to check out my channel where I've got videos just like this one. Feel free to subscribe, leave a like, or even a comment with your own thoughts about the Dramatic Capture Cybertron Chase set. I'd look forward to reading them. Thank you again, and we'll catch up soon.